and welcome to my channel, AB Make It Artwork, where we do what we do to make that artwork for you. And if you're new to my channel, maybe hit that subscribe button, join the AB Creative Crew. We do sketchy art things. Today's video is going to be a life rant, and it's going to be a discussion of sorts on my mental illness. And this was inspired by the period of time last week in which I was just having a very bad mental health week. Currently, my husband and I have assessed what the problem was, and I'll discuss that more towards the end of the video, but for now, I'm going to real quick do a description of what kind of mental health problems I do suffer from, and kind of talk about that for a bit. Now, I suffer from depression and a mild case of anxiety disorder. The anxiety disorder is related to a period of time in which I was in a not so mental health friendly foster home. And depression, I've been diagnosed with that since the age of 10. It's clinical depression. I have it. I didn't want it. No one wants it. But let's get into the technical definitions for depression and anxiety. Depression's technical definition is a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. Sometimes the symptoms come with stress, loss of appetite, indecisiveness, low self-esteem. And something you'll know with like a lot of different mental health disorders or illnesses is that a lot of the symptoms are very similar. That's just something I would learn later on in college, in psychology class. Now, anxiety disorder is a mental health disorder characterized by feelings of worry, anxiety, or fear that are strong enough to interfere with one's daily activities. Now, I'm pretty sure I said that mine's kind of milder than other people's, in that it takes quite a long time for anxiety in me to build up to the point where I can't really function and have social interactions, and I'll end up having like full-blown anxiety attacks. And again, that's related to PTSD from that one foster home placement. And I do promise that I will talk about my foster care story, but that's kind of another story, not for today. Now, if I had to personally characterize what anxiety and depression feels like to me in the kind of best way that I think other people can understand, anxiety to me is like a broken iPod. And it's full of songs that you hate, and it's stuck on repeat. Now, those songs that you hate are little bad thoughts that you have about yourself, insecurities, maybe mistakes you've made, or that I've made personally, like little bad thoughts that I've had, or mistakes that I've made, and just irrational, mean thoughts about myself. And I can't turn this iPad off, I can't turn it down, but I can certainly muffle it by burying it under other stuff, whether that be through art, learning new skills, watching videos. I can kind of ignore it. Now, depression for me is like a permanent extension cord that is connected to me in that broken iPod. It drains me in my energy, and it only serves to fuel that stupid broken iPod called anxiety. Now, sometimes I can unplug myself from depression and walk away from anxiety and recharge with people and things that I enjoy. But this doesn't always work, and I can't always control when anxiety and depression kind of just plug themselves back into me with a vengeance. And management is good, but it doesn't really stop me from having anxiety or depression. So, with most mental health disorders or illnesses, you can usually treat for the symptoms, but you can't cure it. And people will be like, oh, well, it's all in your head. And it's like, well, of course it's all in my head. It's chemical imbalances, it's hormonal stuff. Like, we can't really fix these kind of problems thus far, as far as science goes, but we can kind of manage it. And I think in my mindfulness video and being mindful, I did express that I like to write down how I'm feeling, that I like to talk, and in this part of the video, I realized that throughout last week, I had a sudden epiphany. The reason why I was feeling more anxious, more upset, is because throughout the last few months, and throughout maybe even longer, my husband and I were kind of negatively reinforcing each other. And if you don't know what that means, negative reinforcement is when you point out when someone does something wrong and you kind of bring it up to reinforce that it is a bad habit. And it's kind of the equivalent of sticking a dog's nose in poo or in a potty spot. It doesn't really fix the problem, it just kind of shoves it in your face. And maybe for some people, having a flaw pointed out to them will help them to fix it. But with negative reinforcement, if all you're doing is pointing out where you went wrong in a situation, especially with my anxiety and depression, it just kind of puts on loop that you're doing bad things and no one likes you. And my husband and I, we had a discussion about how by us only pointing out what we were doing wrong in any given interaction or circumstance, we were both causing each other a lot of frustration, a lot of hurt, and quite a bit of upset. And that for me, it was making my depression worse, my anxiety was skyrocketing, and I was having way more panic attacks than I should have in these last couple of months. And for him, it was just causing him a lot of stress in his occurrences. And we realized that, because we were negatively reinforcing each other, I kind of came off as bitchy and he would kind of get snippy. But kind of tying in with mindfulness and just being aware of what the problem is, we assessed the problem, we discussed it, and now we're kind of making changes in how we interact and behave with each other. And something else that really kind of pulled me out of this slump, of which I was just kind of clawing at myself with bad thoughts, causing me to kind of hurt and feel really hollow and tired. I felt like I was broken, that people didn't like me. And this piece was to embody that feeling that I was broken. I felt like I couldn't fix what was wrong with me, but I was also just causing myself more hurt than I was really helping. And it took a friend telling me, after I sent a message saying, oh, thanks for putting up with me, I'm sorry we didn't get to hang out more. It took her telling me that she really enjoys my company and she thinks I'm great to hang out with. Because I didn't think I was great. I only thought I was a nuisance because, again, my husband and I, we were negatively reinforcing each other, only pointing out where in an interaction what we did wrong. And suddenly realizing that this person doesn't think I'm horrible or awful made me feel a lot better. It made me feel less like I was this absolute shit of a person that no one wanted to be with and no one wanted to hang out with. And just talking with my husband, realizing we were doing something that was negatively impacting both of us. We saw that big plate of broccoli, we seasoned it and we cleaned it up and we ate it. we ate our broccoli and we're making changes to like be more positive and positively reinforce each other. Um, we've only got less than a minute left. I hope you are having a wonderfully creative day wherever you are. I have other social medias. Their links are in the description down below. I have a DeviantArt, an Instagram, a Tumblr, a Twitter that I am trying to interact more on all of my social media, and a Pinterest for references. I hope that you are having a wonderfully mindful day wherever you are. And as always, make sure to do what you do to make that artwork for you. Lots of loves, hugs, and kisses. Bye.